One of the biggest reasons that you are stuck in your healing and transformation is your desire to learn from the past. And I know that sounds really, really weird because some of the most useful, some of the most profound lessons that we learn about how to be, how to act, what to do, what is in front of us is learning from our past experiences. As a species, we have been as successful as we have. We've evolved as much as we have because we're constantly learning from our past experiences. And this is awesome, except when it's not. Today, as we continue our Healing Fundamentals series, we're going to look at the times in which trying to learn from the past not only is not useful, it's actually detrimental to our healing and transformation and keeps us stuck. This is Monterastelli, and welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast recorded live to date from Williamsburg in Brooklyn. This is episode 580, originally aired October 11th, 2023. Hi, everyone. I hope this finds you well wherever you are and whatever time of day you're getting a chance to spend some time with this. Thanks for spending a little time with me today. Today, we are continuing our Healing Fundamentals series where we're looking at our desire, our very useful desire to learn from our past experiences and how that can actually get in the way of healing and transformation. And most importantly, what to do when our fixation on learning from the past is preventing us from moving forward. Before we do that, I want to share a really simple tool with you. What we're going to do as we navigate our way through this is we're going to start to look at the stories that the subconscious mind tell us. And the problem is we cannot simply think our way out of the stories that our subconscious mind tell us. We can't just change them. If that were the case, all we would need is little bumper stickers of encouragement to create change and transformation. Because that's not the case. We need something that can actually go in and create transformation at the subconscious level. For me, that tool is tapping. Tapping is a super powerful tool that I use daily for myself, that I use every single day with my clients. If you are new to tapping, we're going to do a little tapping before we're done here today. All you need to do is follow the little red arrow in the upper right-hand corner. Click on the link up there, and it will take you to learntotap.com, where you will get the basics so that as we are doing tapping in this video and any other video on the channel, you'll know exactly what's going on, and it'll make it so much easier for you to engage with the work that we are doing. One of my favorite phrases that I like to use with my clients, and I say it jokingly, but it's a useful thing for us to say, is sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. And what I mean by that phrase is sometimes there is no extra meaning to our experience. What you see is what you get. Now, for those of us who have spent a lot of time in the transformational space, spent a lot of time thinking about how we can make our lives better, we spend a lot of time looking at the past. We look at the past choices we've made so we can learn from those choices. And most of the things that I can do came from this particular thing. My ability to do a particular skill is looking at the last 6 or 7 or 10 or 15 times I've done it and see what worked and what didn't. The same is true when we engage in relationships, the work that we're doing, how we take care of our body. We're constantly trying to learn from the past. And as a species, again, that's the reason why we've evolved the way that we have, is we are natural learners in moving forward. And as wonderful as this is, sometimes our desire to learn from the past actually prevents us from moving forward. And so this is the way that that works. Because the conscious or subconscious mind, depending on who is driving the show at that particular moment, knows there is a lesson to be learned from the past, we can prevent ourselves from healing because we haven't learned the lesson yet. There's this still small voice in the back of our head going, oh, it went wrong. If I just knew how it went wrong, then I can learn from it to prevent it from happening again in the future. And this is great, except for 2 scenarios. And in these 2 scenarios, if we are trying to understand what is going on and trying to learn from it to prevent it in the future, but we're stuck in one of these 2 places, then we're not going to heal and there are no lessons to learn. So the first is when there is something that is coincidence, when there is something that is completely unpredictable and there is no way to mitigate it in the future. So for example, if I am driving and someone else is driving in my neighborhood and they run a stop sign and they slam into the side of my car, There's nothing I can actually do about that, because there is the possibility that someone will miss a stop sign in the world. Now, if I'm trying to learn from that and I'm like, well, every single time I go through an intersection, I'm going to stop just in case to make sure someone else doesn't hit me, that actually causes problems. That makes it dangerous for the other drivers on the road, that I have to keep driving when I have the right of way and assume the people around me aren't going to make mistakes, and people around me are going to make mistakes. And so if I am spending all of this time stuck in this past moment where the things that went wrong are a coincidence or outside of my control, then there's absolutely no lesson to be learned from it. And if I'm stuck trying to learn a lesson because I don't want to heal until I learn the lesson, no lesson is ever going to be learned, which means I'm going to stay stuck there forever. The second way, and this is the one that is much more common with my clients and is much harder to suss out, and that is when we are in a situation in which we will never be in that situation again. Now, for most of us, the way that happens is when we are small children. When we are small children, we have very little control. We don't control where we go. We didn't control when we didn't control who we did it with. We didn't control what the activities were, what we ate, when we went to bed, when we got up. So we didn't have agency. And because we didn't have agency, when things were going wrong, we didn't have control. And so now, as an adult, I am not in a circumstance where I lack the agency where I was a 5-year-old dependent on the adults around me. Now, that doesn't mean I have perfect autonomy. I live in the world and I'm dependent on the people around me, but I have so much more control today. And so when I am looking back to that 5-year-old version of myself who didn't have control, and I feel like the world is pushing upon me and I'm trying to learn some lesson how I could have lived that differently in the past, there was no way that I could have lived that differently in the past. There's nothing I can learn from my 5-year-old self being stuck in those situations that is useful for me today. And so if on a conscious or a subconscious level, as I'm trying to create healing and transformation, I'm trying to write meaning to me being out of control as a 5-year-old and how I could regain that control, there isn't a real lesson to be learned there. And that's not to say that there aren't lessons to be learned from looking at past events of our younger selves. But oftentimes, the lesson is, I was 5. I didn't have control. And I'm never going to be 5 again. So I'm never going to be in a circumstance where I lack that sort of control. So there is no lesson to be learned. So you can see, if we are consciously or subconsciously fixated on trying to learn something in the moment and there is no lesson to be learned, then we're going to stay stuck. Because if I am preventing my healing until I learn the lesson, because the subconscious mind is afraid, if I heal, I'm going to miss a chance to learn that lesson and then I'm going to be in danger in the future, it makes perfect sense that you're not going to want to heal, that I'm not going to want to heal, because it feels like, because of the way the subconscious mind understands what's going on, the safest way forward. But in reality, the way that we are safe is we give ourselves permission to heal and to move on. And part of that is acknowledging there is no lesson to be learned. So when I find myself stuck and I can't move forward, and I'm not even sure if what we're talking about is true, this is the tapping I do to make it easier for me. Just repeat after me, move from point to point. I recognize the facts. There is a part of me that wants to learn from my past. There is a part of me that wants to make sure the pain I experienced previously is not pain that I'm going to experience again. And I know I am a learner. And I know much of my healing and transformation has come from me learning from the past. But I also recognize the fact there are going to be times and situations where there is no lesson to be learned. I'm never going to be in that context again. It was something that was just happenstance. And if I stay fixated on learning the lesson first, when there is no lesson to learn, I'm going to prevent my healing. I give myself permission to know if there is a lesson to learn, I will have an opportunity to learn that lesson. But I also give myself permission to know it is okay to heal, to transform, and to move on. Because I will get a chance to learn that lesson if I need to learn it. But what is much more important is my healing and my transformation in this moment. Nice big deep breath. And so whenever I tap on something like that, I can just feel more relaxed because there's not this part of me that's desperately trying to figure out what's going on. It's just in the moment. It's just there. Knowing that if there's a lesson, I'm going to find it. And if there's not a lesson, that is okay as well. So there you go. One more healing fundamental in this particular process. Sometimes our desire to learn from the past prevents us from actually healing and moving forward. On your screen right now, you can actually see a link to the entire series. Every single one of the videos have a little bite-sized nugget just like this, which is going to make it easier for you to heal and transform. Click on that playlist, work your way through it. It's going to make your healing and transformation journey so much easier and so much more beneficial.